got Spike Eskin, co-host of the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. It's a podcast about the Sixers, and that's the team we're going to talk about right now. Spike, what's up, man?
How you doing?
I'm doing awesome. I cannot wait for playoff basketball, man. I'm also I cover the Thunder, and so we're on pins and needles in OKC right now. We're recording this on Thursday evening. And
yeah, I woke up to the score this morning, and my first text, honestly, was to Andrew Sharp, who predicted that the Pelicans would win the West. So that was my that was my first thought. And then I was talking to somebody at work about the Thunder, and I was like, they don't even have Chet yet. So so it's very exciting for you. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, man. So since being 12-12 early this season, the Sixers have closed the season going 42-16. Meanwhile, the Nets are 11-13 post All-Star break. These teams are clearly in different tiers in the East. Is there anything at all that scares you or worries you about this matchup?
I tried to think of something yesterday because we did our Nets preview, and the full disclosure, I work for WFAN in New York, and we are the flagship station of the Nets. So I've seen a good bit of Nets.
Yeah.
And this will come back. This is going to get clipped after the Sixers are down 3-2. But I can't think of something, like I think they're one of those teams sort of maybe in the way that the Sixers struggle with Toronto, in that they're athletic and sort of long. And you imagine in the first couple of games before Embiid figures it out, if they swarm him, they could get some turnovers. But I injury aside, I can't think of a way, like a realistic way that I can go through my head. We've seen the Sixers lose in unrealistic ways, but in a realistic way, I can't think of I can't think of a way that they lose to the Nets.
Yeah. So assuming that this is a relatively easy series for the Sixers, what should Sixers fans be watching for? Is there anything that you hope to see in this series?
So to me, the most important thing above all else is that Harden looked good. I'm not a Harden guy, admittedly, but he exceeded my expectations this year and played really well once he and Embiid started clicking, maybe 30 games into the season or whatever. But then he started complaining about an Achilles, and he took some games off. And when he came back for the last 5 or 6 games, he didn't look good at all. Now, those games didn't matter, and he knew that. And no one likes a game that doesn't matter more than James to not try. So I think that the real key is, what does he look like? Because we can go through the roster and all that kind of stuff, but it really just comes down to, does he look right? Does Embiid look right? And if he looks right, then that is the thing that I'm watching for the most.
Yeah. And to kind of dive into Harden just a little bit, you can't ignore all the James Harden to the Rockets stuff that's just been floating around there in our faces since Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Is this like kind of in the consciousness of the Sixers fan base? And is there like a certain threshold that if they reach conference finals or whatever it is, that could just possibly vanish?
People don't seem all that worried about it.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's because they're not worried about him leaving and that it wouldn't bother them that much, or they don't think it's really a possibility, or the other thing is, the last 5 years of Sixers basketball post rebuild have been so disappointing that people are a little bit numb.
Sure.
Disappointing is a weird way to put it, but you know what I mean, like with the way the expectations are. So I think it could happen. I think rather than putting a number on it in that they have to get to this game, I think the real thing is more of like a gut check thing, in the same way that you think, is this guy an all-star? Is this guy a Hall of Famer? I think at the end of the season, whether that end in the second round, the conference finals, or the finals, you have to say to yourself, that team that beat them, are they a champ? Is that team a championship contender? And did the Sixers look like they could realistically beat that team in a 7-game series? Did they did they look like they could have won that series? And I think if the answer is yes, it's more than likely that Harden stays. If the answer is a question, then I think they're probably in trouble.
Where's your heart lie with that situation?
I think they'll like lose in 6 to Boston, and we'll
Hmm.
talk ourselves into the series being closer than it actually was. I think is sort of where I am. I I don't care if Harden leaves in that I'm not attached to Harden. And I think Sixers fans in general have done this mental gymnastics in which everybody is forgetting game 6 against Miami last year. That was one of the worst things I've ever seen in my entire life from a playoff perspective. He looked like he was trying to lose. He looked like he was throwing the game. I've never seen anything like it. So, but the problem is that if he goes, it's not like you're creating cap room for yourself.
Right.
You're still stuck. So that's the real problem. I think that's what I'm worried about. But my gut says they lose in 6 to the Celtics. But and this sounds like weird to. I'm not hoping for this, but you're always like a turned ankle away from
Yeah.
being the favorite. And
Hmm.
Middleton isn't right, and Tatum turns an ankle, or Brown or Smart or something. It's not like it's never happened before. So, and that
Sure.
could change the track of everything.
So this season started with a large number of Sixers fans wanting Doc Rivers gone after a very slow start.
Yeah.
What's the current mood about Doc heading into the playoffs? Are there any current rotation questions that Sixers fans are particularly anxious about?
Yeah, I mean, I think the mood is anti-Doc, but the mood was anti-Brett before that. And I think
Sure.
generally, on the pod, I'm not a coach guy. I'm not a ref guy. I don't like complaining about the coach. I don't like complaining about the refs.
Hmm.
I think it's rare that you lose because of the coach or lose because of the refs. I think everyone who watches the Sixers is ready to obliterate Doc. I think the biggest questions are um, finding a way to make sure that Embiid or Harden is on the court at all times, you
Hmm.
know, and the other, Doc is famous for the all bench lineup, and the Sixers do not need all bench lineups.
Yeah.
Uh, they Doc seems dying to play either Deadman or Harrell rather than Paul Reed.
Oh boy.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and that's been a sticking point as well. So I think all bench and the backup center are probably the two things that people are watching the most for Doc.
Is there a backup center that would make people more mad, whether it be Deadman or Harrell?
Oh, Harrell. Oh my God.
Okay. Yeah.
I am prone to hyperbole, but Harrell's the worst big man the Sixers have had since I started doing the podcast 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Ben Simmons, I promise I won't make this too long. I can be verbose because I am a podcast host, but like the Sixers are playing Ben Simmons this year. And Ben Simmons is more scared to go to the rim than any player in the history of the NBA. He sees Harrell there and goes right to the rim 3 straight times. I swear it happened. You can go watch it. And I was like, oh, come on, man.
Yeah.
Simmons wants to go at him. And I feel bad because everybody likes Harrell. He seems like a good guy, but he is
Sure.
cooked. That guy is
Yeah.
cooked. So
So there are several new players on the roster this season. How would
yeah.
you rank these new Sixers in terms of your confidence in them heading into the playoffs with
All
PJ
right.
Tucker, DeAnthony Melton, and Jalen? My hand is not broken. McDaniels.
So I love PJ Tucker. And I truly believe that one of the reasons they've been so much more resilient this year is just him being there. Like
Yeah.
I know it sounds like horseshit, but this is a team that would always crumble before and did not crumble this year, and he's there. So I believe in PJ Tucker, confident, number one. I would like to say McDaniels is two because I really enjoy him, but
Yeah.
Melton has been really good. And so I would say Melton confident two, McDaniels three, but I want to believe in Jalen McDaniels.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Last question
Yeah.
before we get to our predictions.
Okay.
So early returns on the MVP vote suggest that Joel Embiid
Hmm.
might get his first MVP this year.
Yeah.
Considering how central Embiid has been to this era of the Sixers and all that has come with this era, how satisfying would it be as a Sixers fan for Embiid to finally get this award?
It would be, as I know this sounds crazy, but for a Philadelphia sports fan, for me in particular, the only thing that would that would have felt more satisfying was when the Eagles won the Super Bowl in 2018. I I think Embiid winning the MVP, people keep calling me a loser for this. I think him winning the MVP would be a satisfaction level, maybe just under championship or right around
Yeah.
there with it. Like
Yeah.
this is just a player who people said wouldn't play, then he couldn't get healthy, and just the criticisms and the battle and the everything that comes along with it. It seems so implausible that he would win MVP, especially after coming in second twice, you know.
Yeah.
And he just kept getting better. He earned it too. So I would be incredibly satisfied. And I think the Sixers fans who have stuck throughout all of this feel a kinship with him because he was there the whole time too, almost the whole time. So I think it would be remarkably satisfying for everyone.
I don't think it's hyperbole because as somebody who's followed the Thunder and watched Westbrook get his
Yep.
in 2017, it did feel similar. I mean,
Yeah.
we haven't won a championship here in Oklahoma City, but I think like the feelings that you like, the sports feelings that you have,
Yeah.
I think like are probably pretty close. Like just to see your guy
Mm-hmm.
that has fought all these years for your franchise to finally like, get this like Pinnacle award. I think there is something to that.
I think the thing is, and this isn't to lessen what it means to be a fan of a team, and this is not a specific insult to the Sixers owners, but like the Sixers are owned by a couple of billionaires who don't live here. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
my dedication, and this is the problem I have with player turnover is I want to be dedicated to the players. And I want to feel something for them because they are people and they go through the struggle. So I know for a lot of things, it's like it's about the name on the front of the jersey, not the name on the back. But for me, it's about the name on the back because those are the people. And
Mm-hmm.
Embiid is truly a person. You know, even the thing where a month ago with Shams, he was like, I don't even care who wins MVP. And then yesterday with Rachel Nichols, he's like, of course I care who wins MVP. Like that's, I know it's something to make fun of, but that is a very human thing to do to when you
Sure.
think you might not win to go, but I don't even care. And then
Yeah.
when you think you win, you're more honest about it. So I would be really, really happy for him.
Okay. Spike, give me your prediction. Sixers Nets. How many games?
5.
5. Okay.
I think the Sixers will like lose game 2. We will all panic.
Yeah.
It'll be an ugly game 1, lose game 2, and then they'll put it together. I don't see how the Nets have enough to make it last much longer than that. And game 7 is on my wife's birthday, and that would be a really tough
Yeah.
podcast for me to have to do. So I need it to end in at the most 6. So
I can totally relate to that. Hey, go
yeah.
listen to the Rice to Ricky Sanchez podcast. I'm not a Sixers fan and I listen to it. And so you should go listen to this podcast. It's outrageously entertaining. The perspective that these guys have is so fun. So please go listen to that. Spike, thanks so much for coming on.